Hello everyone, my name is Jason and I am an ISFP. In this video, we're going to be talking about extroverted thinking and how extroverted thinking presents itself in the mind of the ISFP. Now, I'm just going to tell you now that I am going to totally throw myself under the bus in this video. So I've prepared myself to be brutally honest about myself with you. So if you're an ISFP and you struggle with the same things I struggle with your inferior function, which you probably do, then be prepared to get thrown under the bus with me. If you're someone who knows an ISFP, then I'm hoping that you might hear this and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Or, I will admit I probably have a lot of friends and family that might hear what I'm about to say and be a little bit surprised because I think I'm pretty good at hiding what I'm about to say. So if you look at the function stack of the ISFP, the hero function is introverted feeling. We've talked about that in a previous video. The parent function is extroverted sensing, talked about that in a different video. Child function, introverted intuition, talked about that in a different video. And the inferior function is extroverted thinking. Now, thinking is that function by which we determine true or false, and does it work, does it not work? Thinking is not about value judgments. Thinking is about facts. Feeling is about value judgments. Thinking is about determining facts, true, false, looking at systems and asking, do they work? Do they not work? Do they make sense? Do they not make sense? It's about examining data, analyzing, and coming to conclusions on true or false, accurate, inaccurate, functional, non-functional, pragmatic, junk doesn't work, okay? So my inferior function is extroverted thinking, which means it's my thinking function that is, and it is focused outward, away from me. Okay. Now, I see extroverted thinking in myself appear really in two different ways. So I'm going to start with the one that I'm going to talk the least about and then go to the one that I'm going to talk more about. The first way that extroverted thinking shows up in me in an inferior function kind of way is that I do not always have great discernment when people are presenting information to me. So I can listen to someone make an argument about an idea and say, they can present it well. And I will go, wow, that makes perfect sense. I totally think that what this person is saying is true. And then someone else comes along and says something else that is like diametrically opposed to what the other person said. And I can listen to that and go, wow, that makes so much sense. I can completely see how that is true. Now, the advantage of this is that I can really take in information from two different sides and consider it, and maybe in some cases see the good in both sides, or the accurate, the correct in both sides, and integrate both concepts, or at least the correct aspects of both concepts, into my mind and be like, yeah, I can see the truth in both of them. That's good. The bad is that I might not accurately discern the parts of what are being said that are true versus the parts that are false. So I could be led to conclude that something is true when it's actually not true. And I'm not always all that great about or dedicated to going and researching the data or analyzing the data for myself to find out whether or not it's actually true. In other words, when people make true-false statements, I'm a little bit too quick to just sort of believe whatever. Now, I'm older, I'm in my 40s now, and I've learned this about myself, so I am better about being discerning and saying, wait a minute, I need to fact-check that and see if it's true. But nevertheless, I still see it as a bit of a weakness for me where I am a little too quick to just accept something as being true just because I hear someone say it, especially if they present it well, and even more so if I respect that person, or at least if they have reasons to be respected. Like, let's say they're an authority on the subject, right? Very easy then to go, oh, well, surely what this person is saying must be true. And maybe in a future video, I'll talk about some anecdotal examples of where that has shown up in my life. So if you're an ISFP and you have extroverted thinking inferior, well, if you're an ISFP, you do have extroverted thinking inferior. So just, be cognizant of that. And for you INFPs, this applies to you too, because you also have extroverted thinking in your inferior function. Don't be too quick to just believe something that someone tells you because it sounds right, it sounds good, or you respect the person who's saying it. Take the time to go analyze it for yourself. And if you have an ISFP or an INFP in your life who has, again, if you have these people in your life, they do have extroverted thinking as their inferior function. If you have a thinking function higher in your function stack, be on the lookout for times that your ISFP or INFP might be believing something a little too easily. Interestingly enough, I read and listen to a lot of different people talk about personality type issues, and I can see value. Well, I don't want to say value because that's a feeling word. I conclude that there is truth in so much of what they say and so much of what I read, and yet sometimes they are at odds with one another. And I see that. I'm better at seeing that now, and I'm better at saying, okay, I have to pick a side here because they can't both be right. All right, so that's one aspect of extroverted thinking. The other aspect of extroverted thinking, and this is where I think this plays a bigger role in my life, what I'm about to talk about. Maybe for you, a different ISFP, what I just talked about, maybe the more significant role that extroverted thinking plays in your life. But for me, this is where the rubber really meets the road. I find that I have a certain pride, which I hate. I try really hard not to be a proud person. But I find that I have a certain pride in my thinking, which, if I really am honest with myself and say, extroverted thinking is your inferior function, dude, thinking is not necessarily, like, logicking things out, not necessarily your strong spot. But where it really shows up in me is when it comes to pragmatic systems of getting things done. So I have very specific ways that I want to accomplish things. And when I look at a task and I see other people doing it in ways that in my mind are not pragmatic, in my mind, they don't work. I'll look at that and I'll be like, why are you doing that way? It doesn't work, okay? So I'll just give you an example. I have worked at a restaurant, and sometimes when people would pull the dishes out of the dishwasher, they would stack them up against one another really tight. And I'm like, okay, the dishes need to air dry. If you can't get air between the dishes, then they won't dry. Do we not understand air dry? Come on, people. So that's a system that I'm looking at, and I'm saying, okay, there's clearly a right way to do this. Why are you not doing it this way? Now, I find that I have a pride and a condescension and a almost an extroverted thinking rage. So it kind of goes like this. It goes, well, there's clearly a right way to do this that actually works. That's extroverted thinking. It's concerned with what actually works. Pragmatism. Let's think this through. And then it says, and you're not doing it the intelligent way that actually works. So either, and I found myself thinking this many times, okay? Many times this thought has been in my brain. Either you're lazy, or you're incompetent, or you're stupid. And those are the only three possible choices for why you're not doing this activity the way that it ought to be done. Okay. Now, I'm starting out with the idea that I'm so intelligent that I can clearly see the most pragmatic extroverted thinking way of doing something. And so if you can't see it and you won't do it that way, then there's something wrong with your brain and you're just stupid. And then I kind of rage. I get angry. I'm mad. I'm under my breath. Now, I don't usually express it out loud, although there have been a few times in my life when I have said, like, how can you be doing this? It's so stupid, right? Now, here's what's fascinating. Introverted feeling is my hero function, and I don't rage over that. I don't get all worked up over that. I'm just like, okay, I know that I believe what is right. I know that I value what is actually valuable. You don't agree with me? Whatever. I don't care. Go your own way. Don't matter to me. An introverted intuition, my child function. I don't know. I know what I want. I'm not all bent out of shape about it. I don't care. I'm good. No rage there. Now, I have had dealt with extroverted sensing rage a lot in my life. I'll talk about that in another video, where my environment was not structured like I wanted it to, and I would get angry, especially when I was younger. Okay. But I have this extroverted thinking pride and sort of rage that is irrational, and it's irresponsible, and it doesn't even make sense, because if I would just be honest with myself, I would have to say, I'm not all that skilled in the world of extroverted thinking. It is my inferior function. So why do I go around with this chip on my shoulder saying I'm so great and you people are all so stupid because you can't see the pragmatic way to do this? I have heard a theory that we as people, regardless of what personality type you are, that we value our inferior function when we see it in other people, much more so perhaps even than we value our higher functions when we see them in other people. Because it's like there's something inside of us that knows that that aspect of the human mind is valuable, useful. It should be something that we focus on. And yet when we try to focus on it, we botch it up all too often. And so when we see it in other people, we really marvel at it and we think it's great. But we also run the risk of judging ourselves to be better than we are. The Bible tells us to judge ourselves soberly, okay? Well, when it comes to my extroverted thinking, I don't judge myself very soberly. I go around in life thinking that I'm just so freaking intelligent in this area, and I'm really have a very condescending attitude toward other people when I don't think that the way they're doing things, the order and the system that they're implementing, when it's not pragmatic, when I think it won't work, I'm like really I have bad thoughts about people. And that's to my shame, right? That's not good. That's bad, okay? So I'm just throwing myself under the bus there and saying that's bad, because I have to realize I'm not so amazingly intelligent. I don't have pragmatism down to a T. I am not like the most system-oriented, give me a task and I can always tell you the exact best way to complete it kind of a person, okay? People with extroverted thinking as their hero function probably can do that a lot better. Kudos to you ESTJs out there. And what would be the other one? ENTJs, I guess. Yeah, I think that's right. Anyway, either way, kudos to you people who rock at extroverted thinking. I just go through my life being all proud, thinking that I rock at extroverted thinking when really I don't. Now, let me give you one more example of where extroverted thinking shows up for me. Because of my extroverted sensing, which sees and hears everything, I have a lot of trouble like focusing on thoughts, especially like, I'll give you an example. The other day, there was a problem with our phone bill. Okay. It was all messed up. And I needed to sit down and go line by line by line over the phone bill and say, why is this way? This should not be that way. So I'm looking at numbers, I'm looking at data, and I'm analyzing them. And I'm trying to come to the conclusion of what about this phone bill is messed up and what is correct. Because then I was going to go out to the phone company and walk in with the bill. It's on my phone. It's not like it's a piece of paper anymore. And talk to them and say, okay, here's what I don't understand. This line makes no sense. This line makes no sense. This line makes no sense, so on and so forth. So I try to do that. And right off the bat, I'm in a bad mood. Like instantly, the moment that I even know I have to do it, I'm angry. I'm in a bad mood because I'm having to exercise that extroverted thinking muscle. That's my inferior function, and it's weak and it gets agitated easily and it doesn't want to be exercised. And my introverted feeling just wants to go like, hey, let me take over. I'm the hero here. And I can just say this phone bill is stupid. It's dumb. It's wrong. It's not valuable. And that doesn't work. Right? I can't go out to the phone company and go, hey, your phone bill is dumb. Fix it. I have to go in and I have to say, okay, I have analyzed this phone bill and I found this line is wrong and this line is wrong and I don't understand why this charge is on here and so on and so forth. But when I tried to do that, right off the bat, I'm angry, I'm agitated, I'm annoyed. Why do I have to do this? This is so ridiculous. I'm so mad. This is so stupid. But I tried to do it in my kitchen. Well, the problem is the kitchen is open and people are coming through and people could be having conversations and talking and whatnot. And that just made me more mad. And my extroverted sensing is hearing every little thing that's going on. And I see everybody that walks by and everything that happens distracts me from a process that is already agitating and difficult for me to try to accomplish. So when I really need to exercise my extroverted thinking muscle, I've got to go off in my room by myself, close the door, if possible, close my eyes. Obviously, if I'm analyzing a phone bill, I can't close my eyes because I got to look at every detail that's on there. But I have to get away from all of the extroverted sensing distractions so that I can really use that extroverted thinking muscle that does not want to be used and gets really angry every time it gets worked, okay? So I've found that frequently in my life when I've treated people badly, it's almost always because one of two things. They, as if it's their fault, right? It's not my fault, no. They have stepped on my extroverted sensing or they've stepped on my extroverted thinking. And by stepping on my extroverted thinking, all that really is like forcing me to use it. So when I am forced to use my extroverted thinking, especially if my extroverted sensing is being assaulted by sounds or sights or, whatever commotion, then I become angry and I find that I treat people badly. Now, I know that this is true about myself. And so I at times, I'm not going to say that I'm like super perfect at this. At times, I really do put in the effort and work hard not to allow myself to fall into the grip of an extroverted sensing or an extroverted thinking rage, okay? Where I'll be mean and say things that I'm going to regret and just not be the what I consider to be the polite, kind, nice ISFP person that I normally am. So if you have an ISFP in your life, do you find that they go from, oh my gosh, this ISFP is like the nicest person I've ever met and I really enjoy them, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, they're crazy, and you're like, what the heck, man, where did that come from? Why did you just go from perfectly fine to now you're so mad? Well, you probably triggered, and I'm not saying it's your fault, right? It's the ISFP's mature responsibility to deal with their problems. But you probably somewhere prodded, you put a little gouge in their extroverted thinking, forcing them to use it, or you messed with their extroverted sensing and caused their environment to be so disheveled and unpleasant that they didn't know what to do. So you ISFPs out there, if you deal with this, going from super, Mr. Nice Guy to rage in a moment, this Jekyll and Hyde type syndrome, you need to admit that to yourself. Be honest and work on it. Work on it. You have to be able to use your extroverted thinking. This world requires that you use it, and you've got to be able to exercise that muscle without being hateful to people. And if you have an ISFP in your life, I want you to understand why this happens, but also, to whatever degree you can, be patient with them and work with them, but try to help them be better, because I know for me, I hate it when I treat somebody badly. I want to be a kind human being. When I die, if the only thing anybody remembers about me is that I was nice, that's awesome. That's all I want. I don't care if my name dies with me. I don't care if nobody remembers me other than they go, do you remember that one guy that we used to do? He was so nice. That's really what I want for myself. But my extroverted thinking, when it's forced to move, when it's forced to act and be used, that just goes away and I suddenly become, Mr. Grouchy Man, and I don't like it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this useful. Please leave me a comment. Let me know if you're an ISFP. Leave me a comment and let me know if you relate to this or not. If you're not an ISFP, you have ISFP people in your life, let me know if this seems to resonate from what you've experienced with them. And regardless, please hit like and please subscribe. I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel and continue to watch these videos. Thank you so much and have yourself an awesome day. Bye now.